deal today. Like I said last night, halibut of a deal, and halibut is a fish, much like panini. I like to tell everybody that panini is a fish, even though I know it's not. But I do that just to cause Brittany to pull her hair out of her head. She's got a lot of hair, so I can make her really angry over the next couple of years. It is. We have Michael Nagy in the building, fresh off his shenanigans with the cotillion the other evening. John Mosier's back in the building. He is shown back up because now it's a Jeffro free zone. And, we before we get to our next guest, let's talk about the banishment of Jeffro. I got a few messages from people. Most of them were, thank God. But, you know, the thing about Jeffro is that he's not. We used to have this little. We've had all sorts of weird characters on this show. My whole life is like weird characters, and we had. John's like, yeah, pretty much.
I'm one of them.
But you know, in let's see, 2000. I would say 2000 to 2004 when I was living here in Hutchinson.
Is that when you had the sex with the homeless stripper?
I think so. And that's
how Jeffro came around?
Came around. We had Dwayne, who was this little tiny mentally handicapped black guy. And he was fun, and he would show up, and he would be on the show, and he was doing all sorts of things, like... one time we were at like a Taco John's, and one of my buddies who was talking to another one of my buddies was like, "Oh, my cell phone changed. I need to give him my new cell phone number." And Dwayne thought they were talking to him, and Dwayne goes, "I ain't no gay, man. Don't be giving me no number. I ain't no gay." And we're like, "What?" Well, then showed up later, and we asked him to go like to get one of my buddies was getting ready to go to the kitchen to get like a can of pop. And he's like, "Oh, hey, you know, Dwayne, you're sitting right near the door," because I've lived in this really tiny, tiny, tiny apartment, even tinier than the Swiss Army apartment. And so we asked him to go get a can of pop, and he's like, "I ain't no dog, man." So he was a character. He was entertaining. He was also very, which was strange because he's black. He was racist and homophobe and all sorts of things. Which I find odd, but so you know he was there. Then when I moved to Salina, Kansas, we had Bruce on the Loose. Which, if anybody's ever seen any of my YouTube videos of Bruce on the Loose, he was just basically a drunk old guy who, during the day, they gave that guy a chainsaw to chop down trees. It was absolutely amazing. He's like, "Hey, girlfriend," you know, all this stuff.
That sounds like a bad idea. Drunk guy with a chainsaw.
So he was just an old drunk. Jeffro was none of those people. He was just flat out goddamn annoying.
Yeah.
And so...
Let me tell you, last week topped the Juggalos, gathering the Juggalos, so...
We start out this was like a Jeffro weekend. This thing started out on a Friday. We go to the Oliver's here in Hutch, and we go out there to see, and I know he has a new nickname now, by the way. Burgess Martin is now known as BJ Martin, because Chris the voice told me he used to go by the name BJ when he was little.
The directions I could take this.
Did you introduce Donald Trump Jr. over here yet?
Donald Trump Jr., look at this. We've got him in the building. Look. You've now christened him Donald Trump Jr.
This is Ryan, DJT Jr. Broughton.
See, the rule used to be we have to call them by their gimmick name, because once we know their real name, we can't call them by their gimmick name anymore, but we might let that rule slip. And we might just start referring to him as Donald Trump Jr. on this show. That would be awesome.
Well, problem is I
And
can't
you're
get
and you're
that
a good sport.
I can't get that orange stuff.
Yes, you can.
I could roll around in Cheeto dust tonight.
Yeah, you could. Trust me.
So we go to Oliver's, and Jeffro shows up out of nowhere. He's like a Randy Orton RKO. He shows up out of nowhere.
You did know he's got that tracking device on you, right?
I think so. Well, he has earlier in the day went to GNC, and they've thrown him out of there. But they gave him a bunch of pre-workout samples.
Oh, God.
And so he took pre-workout and he shoved it into a bottle and he shook it up. And I guess he'd been drinking pre-workout all day. So he was amped to the gills.
Like he needed any extra help.
Yeah, right.
So apparently he ended up at Genesis Health Club at some point. And he has a 7-day pass. And they kicked him out of Genesis. Because apparently inside of the Genesis, he would go and he would sit on a machine and he would do reps. And then he would get off and he would hit himself in the stomach and scream "Ah!" at the top of his lungs and yelled stuff like he felt so alive and all these things.
So he was working out with you.
There you go.
Now, normally that would sound ridiculous, but with Jeffro, that sounds normal.
Yeah.
So then he ends up at Oliver's. And me and my buddy Rob and Brittany are sitting there talking to Burgess, and all of a sudden here he comes. Well, there's all these little, and of course we all have seen these millions of women at all these bars who they're drunk, they're hanging out with their friends, and they think they're cute. And so they go and they see Jeffro, and they're like, oh my God, we have got to hang out with this guy. Well, they don't realize that. And this, I'm going to try to say this as nice as possible. When you give the mentally handicapped, especially Jeffro, an invitation, he's going to take it. And so they danced with him for one song. But then it was every song he had to dance with them. By one, they start peeling themselves away from Jeffro until this last chick, and they start dancing. And I don't know where this came from. I guess it was just drunk people, and it became, I don't know what happened, but at one point during this dancing, this chick, and I've got this on video, I was live streaming when this was going on.
Only you.
She at one point got in front of Jeffro and did these big steps with her high heels. And she popped her legs open like she was, this big deal. And Jeffro comes sliding through her legs. And it looked like a Dancing with the Stars routine. And I'm like, this looks choreographed.
That's ridiculous.
Probably the only way Jeffro's going to get between her legs. But
Well, then she decides after a little bit she's going to go sit down. Well, he goes to try to pull her shirt up. And she is like, no, we are done. So she goes to sit down. Well, then he decides that the next song, they're dancing again. Well, me and my buddy Rob are looking around going, where in the hell is security? Burgess, bless his heart, he comes over there and he goes, security's paid attention to him. They're watching him. And I'm like,
no, they're not.
I'm like, shouldn't he be gone by now? Because he tried to pull a patron's shirt up?
Well, I don't know. With Burgess and his shirt off and everything, and half naked, sweaty man and stuff. I mean, DJT Junior here would like that. Yeah, that's a different story. But
That is awesome. He's got a gimmick now. So, but he is right. He's never going to be able to get his red.
Oh, yeah, he can.
And, as
You've never seen him when he sat by the pool and stuff and came home.
this is awesome. Or as Nagy would say, this is ridiculous.
It sure is ridiculous.
I know, this is one of the best people in the world, but I mean, I tease him incessantly.
So then all of a sudden they finally decide, well, maybe we need to get Jeffro out of here. Well, at one point, Jeffro starts trying to get alcohol. He's trying to buy alcohol from people. And I'm like, oh my God. He does not need alcohol. Well, everybody that I'm talking to is like, we're not serving it. So then eventually he ends up, this chick ends up back out on the dance floor with him. Well, he goes to grab her ass. She kicks at him, so he tries to kick back at her. He does like a jumping front kick. And then at that point,
So he
Rob,
thinks he's working for XWE.
I guess. At one point, me, Rob, and Brittany are like, we're out of here. This is not going to get any better. So we leave. So then the next day, he shows up over here. And
You were surprised you got out of lockup that quick?
I really was. He shows up over here. He stands away from the camera, and me and Scaife were talking, and he literally takes all of his clothes off.
You would have liked that.
And Scaife's standing there.
No, you wouldn't have.
Scaife's sitting where John's at, and he's like, what?
Okay, so that's what that look was for. Like I say, I mean, I love Derek to death, man. But I mean,
He was like, what in the hell? So then,
did Jaber get excited over there to death?
she wasn't here, though. She wasn't here for that one. Thank
Okay,
God.
sorry.
Thank
Yeah,
God.
The rule of thumb with being naked men is you have to at least have something of a physique.
There we go.
That's what Jiggy said too. That's a different story. But
That is a different story.
only
so-
if you're buff and you're the stuff.
That's right.
See, I tied it
So-
into everything.
It's like a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode here. So we get done with. He pulls his boxers on. He goes and he grabs a shake weight and he goes, I gotta go out to the front porch and I gotta work out. So he goes out on the front porch and he's standing there in his boxer shorts and shaking the shake weight on the porch.
Did he do his famous line? Does this make you dizzy?
No, he didn't do that
Oh, sorry,
line.
makes me
He didn't. Oh my
At
God.
least he didn't do any Austin Powers lines.
So he comes back in and he's hanging around. Well, then I had lunch, but I had left some of it on the table, basically where DJT's sitting, and all the DJT Junior, and so so all of a sudden, Jeffro starts eating what's left of my lunch, and Scaife's sitting over the chair going, "What is he?" So then Jeffro goes, uses the bathroom, comes back out here, puts the rest of his clothes on, then he goes into the kitchen. He starts digging through my supplements in there and starts putting pre-workout into his bottle that has already got pre-workout in it.
God.
So then at one point I told him, I said, you gotta go. You gotta go, you gotta go. So I grabbed his stuff and tossed him out and got him out of here. Well, then he goes and stands at the edge of the parking lot here. And those two lesbians that live in the house behind here show up, and he's standing out there in his boxer shorts, and he's like, hey, baby, shaking his fucking waist at them. And they're like stood there, looked at him, and then they kissed each other. And I think it was supposed to be, we're together, we're not interested. Instead, I hear him go, hey, baby. And he's doing this thing, and then they go in the house, and I'm assuming lock the door, and put a chair up against the door.
Yeah.
And then,
Because they're smart.
well, then apparently at 1:30 he calls you. What happened at 1:30 in the morning when he called you on the phone?
I get a call. I didn't know who it was, so I answer it. He's
And you're
like,
wondering why Jiggy gave him your number?
See, this is another thing. How does he end up? He got your number and Jay's number.
He
Well,
had
Jay-
my
Jay-
photography card.
Okay.
Hence why I don't have my phone number on that poster for people like Jeffro. That's why. So he calls me. He's like, dude, I need a place to stay. Can you come to Hutch and get me? I was like, I don't really know about that. And he's like, well, just give me your credit card information so I can get a room. I was like, no, I can't do that. He's like, why not? I thought we were friends.
No, we're not. I don't wish you to die, but no, we're not friends.
So then he decides, I guess, he's going to call Jayburn Wells later.
How did he get her number?
I don't know how the hell he got her number. He calls.
She gives her information to everybody. Come on now.
That's true.
I mean, she's a networker. I don't mean that as an insult on one thing for once, but
Well, so then all of a sudden she calls me and she's like, Jeffro just called me and wanted to come live out on my farm.
He is a farm animal, so that would make sense.
And she said, I don't think that's going to work out. I'm married. I have a husband. And he goes, oh, it doesn't matter. Yeah. What?
Jiggy tried that with him too and said, I'm married, I have a husband. And he's like, I don't care.
So I
Because
don't
DJT
know.
will be good with me. It's cool.
did you get him to leave after I left?
DJT's got the White House. He could go live at DJT Jr.'s place.
I don't know. The white sheets might get kind of messy. It's all the Cheeto dust and.
And he said he was going to have to roll around in a thing of Cheetos, so...
That's what I'm saying. You know?
So, I don't know what's going to happen to him. But apparently he was wanting to go get with the homeless blonde that lives on Main Street. So, I don't know what's going to happen.
Do you live
there.
on Main Street?
No, but I think I know her.
I think I know her.
I'm sure I probably see her now.
So I don't know, but that is Jeffro. He is
Different.
he is different, and he is persona non grata, as they say. So he
Is that code word for just not really invited here ever again?
I guess I'm trying to church it up a little.
Oh, you're-
I'm sure he'll be back one day.
See where you're actually nice. I'm not. So. See, we
You're
can
nice,
see Jiggy
I'm
can be
not.
nice. New Era podcast. Just I got that dig in. So how long's that been going on now? For what, about 7 months now? I've been
7
doing
months.
that. Hashtag New Era podcast sucks.
So
Hashtag you're irrelevant.
So I guess when we get back, we've got a guest, and then I've got to talk about some indie wrestling drama.
No, come on now. No. On the independent wrestling scene, drama?
I told you what happened at that wrestling event I was supposed to photograph in Hutch, right?
What happened there?
I walk in and they're like, I was going to photograph it. They're like, who do you know?
We'll do this. We'll do this.
I was
before
like,
we go
Jiggy.
to
They're
break.
like, well, you're not photographing it. I was like, what do you mean? They're like, you can enjoy the
They
show as a
hate
guest.
me over there.
They're like, we have a house photographer. So I sit down, and there's this guy with a point and shoot camera who's going up to the ring, and that fired me up like no tomorrow. So I ended up just leaving halfway through it.
So you go to Taz. They won't let you photograph because I basically gave you the ticket.
Yeah, but everything was good until I said everything changed once I said Jiggy.
You should have said my name.
next time.
Next time.
That would have gotten you in a better situation.
Next time. Well,
Next time on the Jiggy Jaguar show. Dun dun dun.
So we're gonna take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna get our next guest on the phone or on the Skype. We'll figure it out, and this one will be interesting because this is like a band I think from like Finland.
Who's that?
We'll figure it
I
out.
like that Screamo band from Sweden or whatever it was.
Screamo
They were
band.
cool.
But we got more coming up, and during the break, we'll just take a break, and then I'll just explain.